Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Forman, and today we're going to be talking about a new board. Actually, not a new board for Vernor, but a new board at Real from Vernor. It is the Vernor Triplane, and for those of you that are wondering, triplane, according to Vernor, is one word. So Triplane, triplane. It's even got a cool little logo with like instead of a biplane, it actually has like three wings, like triplane. So this board that I have right here is a 9.0. David makes the triplanes from 6.6 up to the shop. I think we got them in 9.0. I think he makes them up to 9.6 as well. Dimensions on this board are 9.0, 22.75, and 3.13 thick. It's got 74 liters of volume, and construction, we only go high end with Vernor. We don't mess around with any of the lower end stuff. So this is a EPS epoxy build. It has a Marco foam blank in it, and it is stringered. It has the I-beam suspension system in it in the tail, and these fins are NVS Vernor quads. And this is a new quad set that he's developing with NVS. It's called a Pivot. It has the Pivot trailers, and it's got some crazy shaping going on the front fins as well. Both like with a concave inside edge and some curve through the tips, and then with the pivot rears. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on back here, and we'll talk about that as we get into the review. So we're actually developing right now a blog post and a video about choosing the right longboard, and in that release we're going to talk about high performance longboards, all around longboards, and classic logs. And it's kind of like a scale as you go across. If you had high performance all the way over here and you got logs all the way over here, triplane, the Vernor Triplane falls right just about dead in the middle. It'd be like a great all-around board because it has a lot of high performance characteristics. It's got nose riding available. It's got glide and trim of a log, and it's got speed generating capability just because it's got like that hard edge going out the tail, and you can set it up as a quad. So it's all around. Why isn't it a high performance longboard? The rocker's a lot flatter. It's got more nose than a high performance longboard, and the build is I would say the build is a little bit more all around to classic log as far as like the weight. Like it's got a little bit more sturdy glass schedule, which gives it a little bit more weight, a little bit more mass, which actually ends up being great in like bumpy conditions, or to just carry your speed through a flat section with that extra momentum. So all around longboard, let's talk about triplane and what it does. So this design is all around, right? 9.0. It's not super thick. I mean, yes, it's 3.13, which would seem really thick, but it's also concave, so that's taking off the bottom. There's not as much in here where they're measuring it. And then he also pulls the rails down from the top and also from the bottom, right? And so triplane, you've got like the center of the board, and then you've got these really cool like chine rails, like where they fall off. And so you got a concave here, another concave here, and then you got these chines falling off. And so what that does is it gives you the width of the board for paddling. It gives you the width of the board for sitting on it. It gives you the width of the board for like, really small waves, like where you're not really planing, you're just kind of like gliding through it, like displacing through it. But like when you get up and you're hauling ass, like it'll actually, the rails will lift, like the water's kind of coming off of here. And so it makes the board a little bit less wetted surface on the bottom. But the other cool thing about it is that so you basically get the added benefit of a wider board without actually having to tote the wider board when you don't want to. The other thing that makes it easier is typically wider boards are harder to turn because you're having to like bank that wider board across into the arc of the turn. Having these rails like this chine here where it falls off, like these beveled rails here, that makes the turning so much easier. That, like, because it just rolls over, but you also have a way thinner edge on the board. The rail on the board is way thinner, so to put that edge or rail in the water is a lot easier for the surfer. So, compared to like how much float these have, they're actually really easy to turn. Super stable, and great wave catchers. Like Vernor is getting a I think, a really strong reputation for making boards that catch waves really easily. And that's like one thing that we get a lot of people asking us about is like, how easy does, you know, this board or this board catch waves? And so whether it's his Mini Simmons or his Tree Hugger or this, they catch waves, like, you know, per their size of the board. Some boards, like, you pack volume on them and you pack length on them and they just plow. This thing catches waves super easy. And, you know, because typically at my size, like 6 foot, 200 pounds, I'm typically riding bigger than 9.0. And like when I get into like true longboarding, I'm riding like 9.2s, 3s, 9.6s, 10.0s. And so this for me is a smaller longboard, but it catches waves like a bigger longboard, just like the amount of waves that you get and just like kind of stuff that you didn't think you were going to catch that you do catch is great. And also the shorter length is going to fit into the wave. So those of you that are like buying it as your first board, you could ride these a little bit shorter than you would like in another board, which is going to make it easier to catch those first waves and like get into it and turn without the front of the board like running into the flats and going over the nose. But great wave catchers, like once up on the wave, like I mentioned, like that thinner edge is going to be great. That thinner rail is great for maneuvers and for turning and control. The nose rocker on this board is pretty flat, and so like if you're taking off on like really steep hollowed out waves, like you're definitely going to want to be taking off at an angle. But that flatter nose rocker is what's helping you pass, what's helping you catch the wave, and it's also what's going to help you glide across those flatter sections. You know, once you're up on the wave, the momentum of these things is awesome. Like I talked about a little bit about the beefed up glass schedule, but that was like one of the first things I noticed was out of the box was like how thin the rail was. But also like, well, I was like, wow, like I would have expected these to be a little bit lighter from Vernor. Not that they're heavy, they're still lighter than a poly, but they're heavier than his standard build. And that momentum, I think, helps you catch waves easier. Like when you start paddling, you actually build up more momentum with a little bit heavier board. And then also like the glide on the wave, the momentum, the ability to go through chop and like not even have it bother you was really cool as well. So it was just super impressive, and it's I think a great all-around design. You know, if somebody's buying like whether it be their first longboard or they're getting back into longboarding or just buying a board that they want to have work in a lot of conditions, it definitely, like I've been super happy having the thing on top of my car and like using it quite a bit, like whether it be like right behind my house and a variety of like weird waves or like driving to spots that are fun as well. So talking about the fin setup, so David's like, just go quad, you're gonna love it, ride my medium pivot quads and call me, you know. And so I put these things in and I haven't really wanted to switch them out. They work really, really well. I did ask him like, hey, should I have larges because I'm 200 pounds? He's like, nah, man, you're gonna like it with mediums, you don't need larges, so just put those in, you're gonna be good. So NVS, Vernor quads, these things work great. Any other quad set that you have that's futures is gonna work as well. David really likes to have the vector foil on those front fins, so anything with the vector foil that you might have from your other Vernor boards are gonna work in these as well, but you don't have to go with large fins if you're a large surfer or if it's a large board. You could still go with the medium fins. David's design theory on these things is that they just carry a lot of speed and really project you out of the bottom turn, and these pivot quads just really help in the maneuvering, just basically be able to like snap, you know, get a little bit more of a pivotal turn off the top of the wave or wherever you're banking your turns off of. So I've ridden it quad the whole time and been having an awesome time with it. The only time I found, you know, the quad's like kind of slippery or a little bit out of place is if you're spending a lot of time really far forward on the board. Like you start to feel the tail kind of washing out a little bit, but that's something obviously that you can completely cure just by putting a single fin in, like more of a all around, let's say like any kind of raked back, higher aspect, like kind of take a shot. I have to take a shot because I said aspect, but like less cord, like a little bit more performance would be the call. So like a Christensen tracker fin from Captain Fin would be awesome, or the equivalent like in the FCS Connect fins, those Christensen FCS fins would be great in here as well. Just something a little bit more performance oriented, not like a full log fin, like, you know, the big hatchet or some giant cord on it or something like that. So giant cord, you don't have to take a shot. High aspect, you do have to take a shot. So that is the Vernor Triplane. My first impressions, very first session, were stable, awesome paddler, awesome wave catcher, good all-arounder, and you know, looking at it, you're like, okay, that's like a full-on performance longboard. I thought it actually had a lot of the all-around and even like a little bit of the log in it as well, as far as like the momentum and just the flatness of it. But it definitely works in good surf, and just an awesome board. And I've ridden this thing a bunch, and as always, like the Vernor construction holds up really well. Like I still don't even see any heel dents in this thing. The boards just, they last a long, long time. So it's a really good product. And that's why every board that we get from David is always in this construction. So it's the Vernor Triplane. If anybody has any questions on this board, on the Triplane, or would like to place an order for one, you could always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.